that during my career journey, I've developed and I've used it. I've found it working for me. And I just want to make sure that every time somebody asks me a question, they say there is so much, which is an institutional knowledge, right? Which is what we want some industry person to come and share. So this has been based on my experience, which I'll be sharing as part of the framework, and a component related to that, which is a multi-stakeholder value. So after that, we'll move to AI. And because I don't want to go into the gory details of how AI works, the algorithms, the good, bad, and ugly side of it, I'll just launch into AI with a simple case study for everyone to understand how to even approach AI. With talking about AI, we'll just focus on the 3 elements, which is the broad categorization that I've worked throughout. The very first is on, do we have access to knowledge? Can AI enable us to do that? The second one is on cognitive overload. So I'll explain when I come to that point. And the third one is, which is what is related to experiences. The experiences is another third element of our talk today. So the 3 orange things that you see, value, AI, and experiences, is what's going to be the flow of this whole discussion. So I'm going to start now. Is there anything that anyone wants to ask based on the discussion so far? I want it to be very interactive. Please don't leave any questions till the end, because we don't know because the presentation itself is very long. We'll be having time enough or not. Please keep pitching in and asking the questions in between as you feel like. Okay? All right. So value, we all know the basic, very prime definition of value. Value is how we perceive of what a particular product or service is worth of, and that's the caveat, as compared to the alternatives, as compared to all the other options. When I weigh this down, what kind of value do I derive from this, right? Now, we already know the value as a theory concept. There are 3 to 4, how should I say, the dimensions through which I have looked at value, and I'll just pass it on today. The very first one that we see is the dollar, so there is a cost associated. Quite often, we all have said, as compared or considering the price that they are charging for this product, I see that they are delivering a good value, right? So I think if I extend this, I remember my mother-in-law, she still has that toaster with her, which is 35 years old. So she can't even put a cost price to that, because the longevity of the product itself talks volume about it, right? So the second one is feeling good. I just feel good holding a product. If I have iPhone in my hands, there could be a social value attached to it, like I feel it as a part of status game, or it could be emotional value attached to it, right? So the third one is trust. And I think with trust, we all resonate, at least I resonate one brand absolutely with trust. I think these are synonyms in my mind. Do you have any guesses on what brand value do you associate with trust? Tata. Yeah. So in Tata, we trust. So, okay, I can see the smiles. So with trust, I know that when I'm buying a product, I can totally trust the company with which I'm interacting with, right? And the fourth one, which looks like a very relaxing person, that person is actually supposed to relax, because that means ease of use. Think of how easy a product is for us to use. And that's one of the way I can say that it is creating value for me. Hassle-free. There is no hassle for me to get onboarded with how it works, and how I'm actually going to derive the value effectively out of it is another dimension that I have been considering into value. So these are the 4 things about value. And then there is this framework. This framework is not something which is part of any literature. This is what I've carved out when I was designing a lot of AI strategies for the companies. I was fortunately part of a lot of digital transformation journeys of the companies. And I realized that when we are into it, we realize that, oh, there is something which is very unique that we are doing. And the moment we zoom out, we realize there is a common thread. And based on that, I've been able to devise a lot of systems, processes, frameworks that help us. And this is one of those frameworks. In order to do, so whenever I start any project, there are so many things that we can do. How do we prioritize? What is the value proposition? Value proposition is something that's going to come towards the end as well. Out of so many things, what is the opportunity discovery and estimation and prioritization, right? So these are some of the things which get baked into when I design this framework, and I'll start explaining it now. The very first that we see is the moat. What is the moat? What am I up against, right? When we talk about business, what am I distinguished at? What is the distinctive factor? And what is so unique about my product, the business that I am in? That is something that if I'm able to understand it by myself, and I know that I can convey it to the customer, that's also one of the important things. Most of the times, the business owner or the people who are making the product have the understanding of the value of the product in their mind. but that information is not passed on to the customers. The customer is still trying to figure out on their own, and we don't want them to do that because they are paying us to do that, right? So whatever is the value that a particular product provides, it needs to be communicated. When it is done, because I am already clear in my mind what kind of value I'm providing, the revenue is gonna flow. The money that we were discussing, right? It's a money-making business. Money is gonna flow. The second part, when money is coming, we also want to make sure inflows are there, but we want to reserve the outflows. The outflows should not be very leaky. So that's the second thing that we see here is on the saving side, which is the circle here. This is the cost part, cost efficiency, operational efficiency. As we grow, I would say don't even wait for any maturity level to say that I'm having those systems in place and those processes and the automations which would save the money and bring operational efficiencies. Any kind of error that can happen, otherwise just try to save it as you get your hands onto it. So first is mode, second is cost efficiency, C stands for that. And the third one is, and before I even come to that, I think the image gives it away, that third one, I stands for innovation. I know the business, the customer is convinced, they are paying me for it, I'm able to save the cost as well. But do you think it is sustainable? Will it be sustained? If I continue doing my business just the status quo, oh, I know the trick and I'll be in business forever and there is no one who can shake it off. It won't happen. The reason for this is what? What could be the reason for not having a sustained business? Competition and demand change. Yes, you have to change with changing times, consumer preferences, behavior. There is another thing. What if somebody comes in the competition and your business is easily imitable? They can copy you, right? There is no such thing. I was working with one of my team members the other day, and they were saying that what we have been doing for the last several years, the other person has been able to do it just like within the last 2 years or so. So if it is imitable, copyable, you don't really hold any kind of mode after that, right? So what you need to do is continuously innovate and find ways how you can add value to the customers. Again, value is going to come here. And innovation, while I'm talking about innovation, I think one of the falsified perception about innovation is, yeah, innovation is something that's for the long term, but right now, what is going to give me money on the table? The business. I need to run the business. So there is a very myopic and short-term view that I need to balance while maintaining the certain kind of allocation and investment that innovation needs. That by the time you are done with your research, you are done with the innovation, you are giving me the proof, the results, and we are fine with industrializing it. I'll think about innovation as a value then. But right now, innovation is of no value for me. If we think like that, we are not going to be in business for long. So right now, the kind of rapid rate of digitalization that is happening, continuous innovation is important. Not even like, oh, we've done it for once, we've gone viral, we know the customer, we kind of understand their pain points and it's solved forever. It's not going to happen like this. So this MCI, mode, cost efficiency and innovation, is what I've been using as a framework to help me identify which problems to tackle first. All problems are good, which problems are good to solve first. The prioritization order. Okay, not that we are going to order food now. This is one of the things related to when we keep the discussions going about how to bring value. 4 people in a room, they would have different understanding about the value. Right now, even if I ask this question, everyone will come up with some or the other definition. Definition of value itself becomes so abstract after a point that when you actually go and start delivering that value, everybody's objective could be different. Let's see how. There is an app. When I'm hungry, I'm looking for ordering the food, and I open up some app. I'm not going to name that, right? I'm going to open some app, and some recommendations are going to show. Recommendations is how our world is getting ruled now, right? We don't even get to know. It is so seeped into our life. We don't even get to know. We are recommended so many things, and this has become a part of our life. This is so integrated. But back to the point, we have recommendations. Where does app get the revenue from? There must be, so it's a marketplace kind of thing that you host something and then the user gets the value from this. So where is the revenue part of the app? Ads, conversions. So they basically get the commission. So from the order value, assume 5 to 10%, let's take a ballpark number. If 10% is the commission, the app creator, developer, holder gets from the order value, do you think the one who is making the app, it's more motivating for them to recommend the restaurants which are giving high order products, the ones which are expensive, exclusive, right? If that's the case, is it really serving the end customer? Because I can say that expensive orders means more money for me. There could be other person in my team who can come and say that I'm a data scientist. For me, whatever I'm recommending, if those recommendations are actually getting used, that's the goodness criteria for me. I will be evaluated for that. My performance, my appraisal, you can call it at any minuscule level. But my larger goal will be satisfied if my recommendations are put to good use. Some other person comes and say, recommendations you can suggest, keep suggesting. But I think after a point, a person clicks on the restaurant, whether they make the order or not is not in my hands. This is the boundary I want to draw. I can only make a person click, but I cannot make a person convert because there could be bank offer, some comparison, some choices for which I don't have a clickstream journey of the user. I don't know what they're navigating through before they make the order decision, right? So somebody can come and complain that I am the one who is responsible for making these things live will say that you all are wrong. I am right, because if the person is not able to open the app, right, in a very less load time, which is a fraction of second, they're going to snap away, right? The attention deficit world, if they're going to snap away and move to another app, everything that you're going to do is waste. You're not going to get expensive orders, you're not going to get recommendations, leave aside your clicks and everything. So this person is right, this person is thinking about latency. Who you think out of these 4 people is right? All of them are right? Okay. Who else is less right? Completion of the order. Exactly. Yeah, that's good. So there could be, and that I think when professor was also discussing, most of the times the answer to these questions is also it depends. The reason for this is business has to make money, so they are fine thinking that if I suggest the ones which are going to give me more money, I can do that. But again, the point that we were discussing, that's not sustainable. Everybody will realize and they'll move to another app, right? So that's not sustainable to a point, and all other points are valid. After a point, what we have to develop a lens and a mindset is what is good to have versus what is must have. Start segregating at that level, right? In this case, I think what I see is there are clear indicators of must have. What do you see is the must have here? Opening up the app in the right time, right? Because today I was coming here through Uber. Uber was not giving me drivers. And then I switched to Ola. And so I was just seeing that, oh, the load time is so much, but I still have to bear with it because I'm not getting something there. But again, had I received, I would have snapped away from one app to another. And this is so convenient, right? Just opening another icon in the phone. So having that first foot in the door is important. And having those, again, between click and conversion, these things are important. The thing is that there could be multiple objectives which we need to tie together. When we go and start creating value, there is a function of many other elements that come together. And that's what we want to see. What else is wrong in this slide? What are these 4 people doing here? They're all aligned, they're working on the goal, they are still fine coming together, talking to each other, but there is something missing, right? What does the customer want? Yeah. But what are they trying to do with this kind of engine related thing? What is this? It's still not coming along, right? Because it will come now. Or it didn't. Why the clicker is not? Yeah, it's working. Okay, so do you see the difference between this and this? What changed? Discussing, yeah. And they're able to come together, align, because now there was still a friction, there was a gap, the value was not getting generated. Now the value will get generated because they are kind of having a symmetry around, right? So having that synergetic view is important, coordinating is important, prioritizing is important, and then not just having one siloed view of how the value is created. There is no one right definition of creating a siloed view of value. So that's the point from the multi-stakeholder that I wanted to share. So value part for me is done here, except this gotchas. Okay, so I realize gotchas is important. Anything that you talk about, give the caveats, give the shenanigans, give whatever is possible for people to know that nothing is free. There is no free lunch, right? In ML world and otherwise, this is a common phrase. So value, when we talk about does it come for free, nobody needs to answer it right now because this is going to come towards the end of the discussion when I'm done for the talk. But just keep it in mind because this is associated with value as a segment here. And now we're going to go with our case study. Anything related to the value section, anybody wants to ask me any question? Or I can take, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So this competition part comes in M when I'm saying that what your business stands for. So there are 2 ways to look at it. One is that organically, which is looking inside, which is looking inside my business, what I'm standing uniquely as, and then looking left and right, what my competitors, the view of the world, what the world is moving around, right? Because I can't be just in my own world thinking I know the customer best and rest of the people. And by the way, there is another story with this. And I don't know. Generally, people like stories, and I think as I'm aging, I have a lot of stories to tell. So bear with me on this. Cases, framework, case studies, everything I'm going to tell. So recently, I was talking to one of the person in my team, and they were saying that I was making a proposal. We should do this, and what I received as a response was, yeah, but then competitor does it this way, no? So why do we need to do this way? And I was like, this is not a reason. Like, if competitor is at a level 0, and I'm suggesting you to do a level 4, doesn't mean that we need to roll it back down and say that because they might be knowing customer better and level 0 is sufficing, I don't need to think fast forward. You can't be an industry leader if you're following a level 0 person, right? So to be an industry leader, and I was talking to Mr. Pankaj, he's a very well-known person in the industry. He was saying that if you want to be a follower, you'll just keep seeing the leads ahead you, right? But when you want to be a leader, you need to take those judgments, those calls that innovative people can take, right? So that's how innovation breathes. I hope I answered the question, right? Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And we're discussing these 4 things that are important to their specific mindset. In such a scenario, how do you come on a decision that this is the LSM for the quarter, or like this is the most important thing that we want to move forward with?
Yeah. So it's easy for me to answer this question, maybe because I'm an AI person and I can tell you how multiple objectives get coupled. Because we are working on algorithm, and algorithm has a tendency to optimize. Optimize is the word here, right? So you can tell the algorithm, hey, Mr. Algorithm, I'm going to give you 3 to 4 objectives, and you can give a weightage as well. Like I mentioned, business cannot suffer because you can't say that don't even suggest expensive orders, right? This can suggest where it ranks is another thing, right? So how 4 of them are going to come together is, by the way, I think the decision between the last 2, the conversion, final conversion versus click, is something that data scientists take before deciding, because that's the formulation. Those 2 things cannot be optimized together, right? Because this is part of the funnel. You come after the click, you have to come to conversion. But other 3 things, you can give, say that W1 of this, weight 1, give this weight to this particular objective, give this weight 2 to this another objective, 3. You bring a consolidated and weighted average objective function and give the algorithm, and algorithm will figure out for you. I'm not giving gory details, I can give that, but that's how it works, right? So, okay, what else? I think I'm liking the questions more than me just speaking. Okay.
The optimization is contextual as well.
Yeah.
It keeps changing.
It keeps changing. It keeps changing. Yeah. And this is entirely data driven. So your data needs to support that. So if that's not happening, you need to know whether it's converging or not. And that's again a little bit of technical detail. But basically, we understand the problem, and we are formulating the business problem into technical problem. The more precisely we are able to formulate that and do that mapping, the better that. So algorithm is not going to do anything different than how I'm going to suggest it to do, right? So that's again contextual. All right. Okay, so I think I can move ahead. Okay, case study is, like I mentioned, there was a lot of companies which were going through digital transformation, AI transformation, call it any fancy word. The thing is, you've been in a business for long, 20, 30 years, and there is a certain way that you've been running the business. But comes the point where you become legacy. Legacy, I don't think is a good word anymore. Do you think? How does legacy sound to you? Old, yeah, cool. So there comes a point when legacy needs to evolve too. And the longer you take that time to make the transitions are hard, right? The longer it takes you to make that transition, the worse the situation becomes. And that's the scenario that I'm going to tell you now, that there was a supply chain company, very legacy things, being known in the industry and all those things. But what happens, and that's what I was saying, immutable business, right? There are startups and who are more AI focused. There were certain other mechanisms that the legacy business was running on. And then the startups come and they quickly start taking over and winning over the deals that you were supposed to originally get. And then there is a panic button. And then when panic button happens, you start saying, okay, this is the onset of transformation. Now everything is going to transform. Tell me what is needed to run the business. I'll take that call. Do as many experiments as you want. Just make something work for my business. I want to go to the market fast, right? Then the whole dilemma of quality versus speed comes, as we all are aware of. So during this innovation of supply chain, if somebody would have come to you say that I just want to improve my business, I'm into supply chain, what exactly you would think? There are multiple things. I'll just list down and then you can keep adding yours. Is demand forecasting, go and improve it. Again, coming from an AI lens, right? Demand forecasting, procurement, raw material procurement, logistics, inbound, outbound, and then the entire optimization that you can possibly do around your supply chain. However, like we were saying, things are planned. The moment, and you need to find where the linchpin of success is, right? Where that key to success lies is, everything is a plan until you start to execute it, right? For a supply chain, because I'll just give a domain knowledge about this. These are very deep supply chains, which means months and months in advance you start planning for your orders, right? Now what happens is by the time you are actually